Hello and welcome to another Young Adult Book Talk at the Massanutten Regional Library. I'm Miss Stephanie, one of the children's librarians, and today I'm just going to share a few young adult books that I ran across this past month that I really liked. And the theme that these three books have in common is they're all set in Washington, D.C. And when we think of Washington, D.C., we kind of think of the Capitol building or the White House, but Washington, D.C. is a really unique city with a lot of diversity. And so what I did today was I chose three books that provide a different perspective of the city. So our first book is called Down and Across by Arvin Ahmadi, and this book is also a Virginia Reader's Choice, which I highly recommend. And this story talks about Scott Ferdowski, and he is like most teens, he doesn't know what to do with his life, and his parents are always telling him what to do, but unlike most teenagers, Scott decides to pretend that he has an internship in Philadelphia while instead taking a Greyhound bus to Washington, D.C. And on this trip, he meets a young woman named Fiora, and he starts talking with her, and he finds out that she is a person who loves crossword puzzles so much that she wants to do them as a career. And Scott is really inspired by that and her zeal, and she lends him a bike because the reason why Scott chose D.C. as the place that he wanted to go for the summer is because there was a famous psychologist named Dr. Mallard who claims to have the secret of success. And he thinks that meeting with her will be the key to, getting through all this mess that he's dealing with right now. However, Fiora lends him a bike, and after he has a pretty unsuccessful meeting with the professor who kind of dismisses him, he has a bike accident where he almost literally runs into someone named Trent, who happens to know Fiora as well. And between the two of them, they lead Scott on an adventure in downtown Georgetown, and it just getting him into the social scene, getting him to just kind of get out there and learn new things and meet new people. And what I like about this book, it's a very character-based book. All the characters, with one exception, which I'll get to in a second, are very multidimensional, very interesting. They interact with each other well. The dialogue is very realistic, and each of them kind of has their own quirky way of dealing with the world around them that kept me engaged in the story as well. The one exception being Scott's love interest, Jeanette. I didn't really... She was kind of one-dimensional, but it didn't take away too much from it. And another part of this book that I really liked is that there's a lot of... his parents are from Iran, and it talks a lot about his Persian culture and heritage. And I just like how he learns more about that and just how it's influenced him and can actually help him in his quest to find himself. So that's Down and Across, and you can also find that book online through our website, and I'll provide the link of that at the end of the video. Now, our next book is called All-American Girl by Meg Cabot, and this story talks about Samantha Madison, who is a kind of artistic, dorky teenager. She feels stifled by her popular older sister, Lucy, and her genius younger sister, and she just kind of doesn't know where to fit in. She even feels like her art classes are restricting her creativity. But one day, as she's skipping those classes to get a cookie instead, she ends up foiling a presidential assassination. And because she's in D.C., and it's I'm not going to get too much into it because I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's a really unique way how she stops the person from killing the president. And as a result, she gets her own fan club, and she ends up in a kind of a love triangle with her older sister's boyfriend and the president's son himself. So, and it's a fun, lighthearted book. I enjoyed it. There were some quirky things in it. Most chapters, Samantha does a top 10 list about different things that are happening to her, or one example is she's doing a TV interview, and she's 10 things that you should never do in a TV interview that I did anyway. And I just thought it was a really funny, really enjoyable book. Washington, D.C., of these three books, it doesn't play as big a role, obviously. There's some scenes set in the White House and around the city, but it's more kind of like a backdrop, and the focus is more on Samantha's relationship with her sisters, her parents, and her sister's boyfriend and David, who is the president's son. So for a nice, quick, fun read, I would recommend that. And our final book today is called The Perfect Candidate, and this book is by, sorry, I'm going to look at it real quick, Peter Stone. And this is also another Virginia Reader's Choice for 2020-2021. And as you can see, it's also available on book on CD, and you can also find it online as well. Now, this story talks about a recent high school graduate, Cameron Carter. And he is in a small town in California, and he manages to snag an internship with Congressman Billy Beck. So he goes to D.C. and he thinks, yes, this is finally my opportunity to make it in the big leagues, to get involved in the government. And there's a kind of a rocky start where he has some trouble with annoying roommates, and the supervisor is kind of overbearing and not very personable. But then he finds that Ariel Lancaster, who is Billy Beck's assistant, is a person who is willing to help him through, navigating the ins and outs of his internship, just willing to give it a hand. And he appreciates her support for the first week of the internship, but he kind of suspects that she's anxious about something. There's something that's not quite right, and he's kind of curious about what it is. But before he can ask, he comes into the office one day and he finds out that Ariel has died in a mysterious car accident. So he is at first everyone just brushes it off as a tragic accident, but he feels that there's something more behind it, especially when an FBI agent contacts him trying to become an insider within Beck's office. So, and I'm not going to tell you too much more because I don't want to give the plot away too much, but it is a really good mystery, murder, thriller, combination of those genres. And Stone did a great job of keeping me interested in the plot. There was some pretty good twists, especially at the end, that I didn't see coming, which kind of put the book in a whole new perspective, which was great for if you wanted to reread it and you would still get even more out of it. I like Cameron. He was a good kid, but he's he's not perfect and flawed, and he makes some mistakes along the way, and he doesn't come across as this one-dimensional heroic character. And I like also his romance with Lena, who is the Mexican ambassador's daughter. And I like it a lot because she's really great at helping him out with his investigation and not just kind of this side plot that just kind of takes away from the narrative. So I would definitely recommend this book if you're interested in a thriller. So these are all the books that I have for this month. I hope you are able to find them through our catalog online, which I'll provide the link. And thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to sharing more books with you next month. Have a good day.